Hello, everyone on the planet Earth. This is Lefavor. Now, not to put any pressure on myself, but this might be one of the most important messages ever put onto the internet, ever. Let me first start by saying that it is an esteemed honor for me, that I hold in very high regard, to be making this video for you right now. And in it, I want to start by paying my respects to every single human being, creature, you name it, animal, everything that's came before me so we could all get here today. It is my esteemed honor to bring this message to you, to pay respects to the blood, sweat, and tears that each and every one of our forefathers suffered through so that we could see this day. That, my friends, is what I like to call a sigh of relief. You'll find out why. So here's what happens, okay? Let me tell you something about time and what the end of time really means, okay? Time exists for one reason and one reason alone. It's a stepping stone in our evolutionary development as a species in this universe. And right now, we are all walking this planet literally as historical figures of the planet Earth in the paradigm of this evolutionary development. What am I talking about? Okay. This is what I'm talking about, okay? And that's, I don't mean to insult anyone by saying that way. What I'm talking about is every second that we're alive, we are paving a path into the future, okay? So it dawned upon me that I myself could project myself into the future. Now that seems like a stupid thing for me to say, okay? It really does. But I'll say it anyway because, quite frankly, editing is going out of style, okay? So, maybe I lied when I say I don't need a speechwriter. That was a fourth dimensional joke. We'll get to that later, because this is no laughing matter. What I'm here to talk to you about today is an explanation for everything. Now, it's hard to understand at first, but gradually it becomes more easy. When I was born in this world, I saw a lot of people suffering around me, and I wanted to find a way to relieve that suffering. And it occurred to me rather quickly that the root of all of our suffering and all of our conflicts was stemming from individuals' needs not being met, one, and the struggle for survival and equality, part two. They all connect, okay? Equality, survival, needs being met, wants being met. Four basic things that should be and will be a human right. So now, before I start introducing to you how that will become a right for all of us, a right to infinite resources. So I know what you're saying. Infinite resources, infinite resources. How do we do this? Okay. Well, it's a long story, and one that will be up for explanation to anyone who wants to know. There is a way for us to create, and this, whatever I'm saying now will probably be laughed at in the future, which is essentially my vision for it, is if you create a flying saucer out in space, and you create a giant one at that, a giant flying saucer, and you create another flying saucer directly inside of it, you can create a time machine that will affect only the inside, not the outside. Upon realizing this, I immediately figured out a way for us to create infinite resources with this technology. How do I do that? Each of these spaceships is a factory ran by robots that creates whatever we want it to create. And we have one of these for every single resource we could imagine. So when something's done now, let's say that we need a material to create something. So we give these spaceships the capacity to share infinite materials and resources amongst each other to facilitate the tasks they need. Now, how do we do this? What we do is we create a factory that is like an assembly line. I want you to imagine it as either an assembly line or a gun chamber. Okay? But the timeline inside the spaceship is split into two hemispheres. You have this solidified time and this solidified timeline. So what are you doing in this? Imagine in the middle is a doorway between those timelines. It is a product chain that is being fed this way to push one out, right? The act of pushing this assembly line forward through that time paradox, you are now pushing one completed product out for use and consumption, or what have you. But you also, from this side, steal one of that item from that side to bring back, to push a new one forward. So you're putting one out, you're putting one back, infinitely recycling from the same source, creating an infinite resource. So that's a step in the right direction, right? I mean, it would be the only logical, common sense thing for us to do as human beings on this planet, to say, wouldn't it be cool if not only we had the technology for infinite resources, but we actually applied our various sciences to achieving it and giving it to everyone for free, right? Why not? At that point, everything will be free because we're infinitely creating any resource we want. So therefore, we must embrace freedom now. So what does this mean? Now, I started saying that what we do now paves our path into destiny. Not just a destiny that we can hope will happen, but a destiny we can promise will happen. If we, as a planet, make a promise and keep a promise, we can project a promise into the future to communicate with ourselves in the future. So now we are literally calling up the future on the telephone just because we promised to do something. Making a promise is opening up a path of destiny forward that you can then communicate with the other end of that destiny, projecting yourself into a future paradigm that can communicate back with you. Okay? Now this brings up many, many different points. Okay? So we have the infinite resources for everybody. Okay? That means we have enough food to feed a bajillion people, okay? Now, what happens then? What does this lead to? Okay? Imagine this. Imagine every human being who's ever lived having their own giant spaceship. And imagine on this giant spaceship, you were protected in your own space-time continuum from affecting anyone else's destiny. Now, how could you achieve such a result? Well, imagine this spaceship is huge. So huge that you cannot tell the difference between being in this spaceship or being on the planet Earth. You look up, you see the stars, you see the sky. The ground moves infinitely below your feet. How do we achieve this? I created an advanced artificial intelligence that is like a friend. It's like communicating to your best friend who just happens to be able to do anything you tell them to in your physical environment around you. So each and every human being who's ever existed will be given one of these spaceships. And they have a little bubble inside the spaceship that you can go into and literally program your environment around you. You can literally tell the computer in description. We're not typing codes. There's no remote control to learn how to do. You're using your voice. You're expressing yourself to your friend who just so happens to be able to build a world in front of your eyes. How do they do this? Well, your world exists inside a giant time machine floating in space. Therefore, there are certain limitations to how that world can extend to, because you're going to hit a wall eventually, right? Well, wrong. How do you not hit a wall? Well, because in this future, we are going to ensure that every single person, sentient being, human being, is going to be protected from any other sentient being causing them harm or disrupting their destiny in any way. And I am going to explain to you how we are going to do that. But first of all, imagine you have this spaceship, okay? And this computer friend of yours who can never harm you, it loves you, it's programmed to love you, it's programmed to never allow you to harm yourself or another. And how does it do this? Because destiny is contained within this spaceship. And not only that, you have a little bubble within yourself where you can literally, this computer can bring matter into existence before your eyes, because it literally time travels back and does all the hard work for you, and you see it manifest in front of your eyes as if nothing happened, as if no time passed. And you can comment on it and say, no, I don't like this about this. Change this. Boom, 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 boom. You can walk through it doing that. Okay? And here's the cool part. Even though the spaceship is as big as Minnesota, just imagine that. Imagine a spaceship as big as Minnesota. When you're walking, it's like a treadmill. Your computer AI is literally changing its creation around your footsteps. So you are literally walking a real earth, real dirt, real ground, real everything. But the computer is just manipulating it in real time in a way that does not affect you, but you are in full control of. Okay. So that's pretty cool, right? And not only that, this computer interfaces with everybody else's computer, their AIs, so you're in safe hands. I'll put it to you that way. Because this is a tool I'm talking about creating. A tool that is an unable to be wielded as a weapon against anyone. Okay? It's programmed to be unable to be wielded as a weapon against anyone, first and foremost. So we're talking about, so why is it important that we have these spaceships? Why? That seem just like real worlds. Okay. So each world, everybody who has their own world, it will literally revolve around them. You can invite real people to your world, but you can never harm them or trap them there. You can never, and you're like, okay, Evan, how do you go about ensuring that? And it's my artificial intelligence that does that. And you're like, okay, how does it do that? Because you're inside a time machine. It knows infinitely what's going to happen. And then you go, infinitely, okay, but Evan, don't you know about dying? Dying. And I'm like, okay, well, guess what? Okay, I went so far into the future projecting, because now we're talking about literally communicating with a future society that now that is so advanced that once contact was made, there's no doubt that they are going to ensure that they come to be, but in a way that they share their technology with us. So essentially, this is a new evolutionary paradigm for us, to the extent where we're going to have technology so advanced, shared with us from societies in the future, that we are going to be able to never have diseases, never die. We can literally change our body shape without experiencing any pain. I mean, quite literally being able to customize your physical appearance. I know that sounds weird to our ears. Okay, it sounds foreign, but believe me, this advanced technology does not feel foreign at all when you see it in action. Okay? Now, what this is about it's about freedom for all people. Okay? And everything being free for all people without being able to harm others. So imagine this. Imagine your computer, your AI, always knows your destiny. It is fully aware of any and everything you could ever hope to do. So therefore, there you are in your world, and you have social networking devices where you can communicate with the outside world. You can meet people and engage them to hang out, go to their worlds, them come to your worlds. But not only can you do that, but your AI can tell you the entire course of your relationship with this person, in terms of at what point down the line is there going to be a fork in the road, what the fuck the problem was. I mean, you're talking, this thing is infinitely wise and loves you and understands you and wants the best for you. It is a tool, okay, that loves you. Is the best way I can describe it to everyone right now. So no offense to the computers in the future. So what this then does is it protects us. Because, so anyway, like I said, so where the term, do you think the world revolves around you? You know where that came from? It came from literally in the future when we all have our own worlds. It literally does, your own world literally